The Madman's Sack. The village of Akintan was a quiet place, surrounded by thick forest and flowing streams. Life there was simple. Farmers tilled their lands, traders sold their goods in the market, and children played on the dusty roads. But everything changed the day a strange man arrived. His name was Abiodun. No one knew where he came from. He looked like he had walked through fire and survived. His clothes were torn, hanging off his body like old rags. His hair was long and wild, sticking out in all directions. His face was covered in dirt, and his eyes carried a distant, unreadable look. On his back, he carried a large sack, so big that it seemed too heavy for him. The sack sagged low, dragging along the ground as he walked. The villagers whispered amongst themselves, "Who is this man?" 𝐸𝐵𝐵𝐵, the village's best trader, asked as she adjusted her headscarf. "He must be a madman," said Adi, shaking his head. "Look at his clothes. Look at his eyes. He does not belong here." Abiodun did not speak to anyone. He walked straight to the big 𝐼rókò tree in the middle of the village and dropped his sack. That was where he stayed. He ate scraps from kind-hearted women, muttered to himself, and sometimes laughed, a strange dry laugh that made the villagers uncomfortable. The children were warned, "Stay away from the madman," mothers told them. Mad people can be dangerous. But the children were curious. The sack he carried was big, and it always smelled of something strange, like dried leaves mixed with smoke. No one dared to touch it. The people of Akintan village ignored Abiodun, thinking he was just a harmless madman, but they had no idea that the real danger had only begun. One bright morning, little Damola, a playful 7-year-old, ran out of her mother's hut with a small calabash in her hand. Her mother had sent her to buy palm oil from 𝐸𝐵𝐵𝐵's store. "Come back quickly, Damola," her mother warned. "Do not stop to play." "I won't, Mama," Damola called back as she skipped down the road. The market was lively, filled with the sounds of traders calling out their goods. Damola got the oil and started walking back home, humming a song, but she never returned. At first, her mother thought she was delayed by her friends, but as the sun climbed higher in the sky, worry settled in her heart. She stepped outside, looking around. "Damola," she called. "Damola." Villagers joined the search. They checked the market, the stream, and even the small paths leading to the farms as nowhere to be found. They found her calabash. It lay on the roadside, empty. Fear spread like wildfire. Where could she have gone, they whispered. Did she fall into the stream? Did an animal take her? Someone whispered the unthinkable. Could it be the madman? All eyes turned to Abiodun. He was sitting under the 𝐼rókò tree, chewing on his stick. His sack rested beside him untouched. "Ask him," a woman urged. One of the men stepped forward. "Madman, did you see Damola?" Abiodun only laughed, his voice dry and empty. "Mad people don't know anything," an elder said. "Let's keep searching." Night came and the village was swallowed by silence. Only Damola's mother's quiet sobs filled the air. Damola was gone, and Akintan would never be the same again. Days passed and the fear in Akintan only grew stronger. People locked their doors early, mothers held their children close, but as they were trying to move on, it happened again. This time, a 10-year-old boy, 𝐵𝐵𝐿, was sent to fetch water from the stream. He waved goodbye to his siblings, laughing. "I'll be back soon," he called, but he never returned. His mother waited, then sent his older brother to check the stream. The bucket was there sitting on the bank, but 𝐵𝐵𝐿 was gone. Panic swept through the village. 2 children were missing in 1 month. This was no accident. The whispers about Abiodun returned. "It must be him," a woman said. "He came with that sack, and since then, our children have disappeared." "But he's just a madman," another argued. "What would he want with children?" "Maybe he's not mad at all," someone murmured. Still, no one dared to check the sack. And so the village lived in quiet terror, waiting for the next storm to come. At night, when the village slept, 𝐼𝐵𝐿 came alive. Under the shadow of the 𝐟𝐸𝐾 tree, he shed his marks of madness, like a snake sheds its skin. His wild laugh turned into silence, his vacant stare sharpened. From his sack, he pulled out a knife. It gleamed in the moonlight. 𝐼𝐵𝐿 was not mad. He was a hunter, and his prey was the innocent. He knew how to lure his victims, how to move silently like a ghost. Children were easy. He hid in the shadows, waiting for a small figure to pass by. "Come here, little one," he would say, his voice sweet like honey. "I have something for you." Too scared to scream, too tempted to run, the children followed, and then he struck. The village of Akintan did not know, but 𝐼𝐵𝐿 was watching them all. Fear gripped the village of Akintan like a thick, dark cloud. 2 children were gone, Damola and 𝐿𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿, and no one had any answers. Mothers no longer let their children play outside. Farmers returned from their fields before sunset. The once lively village now felt haunted. 𝐬𝐵𝐻𝐵𝐿, the oldest woman in the village, sat outside her hut, watching the frightened villagers. She had lived long enough to know when something was wrong. "This is not normal," she told Baba Dimeji, the village elder. "Children don't just vanish into thin air." Baba Dimeji nodded gravely. "We must do something before another child disappears. But what can we do?" 𝐬𝐵𝐻𝐵𝐿 asked. "We don't know who is behind this." She paused, then added in a whisper, "Or maybe we do." Their eyes shifted towards the 𝐸𝐾 tree in the center of the village. The man who never spoke, the man with the heavy sack, the man who laughed when asked about the missing children. "We need to check his sack," Baba Dimeji whispered. But no one in the village was brave enough to do it. That night, while the villagers slept, a young hunter named Tunde made up his mind. He would follow 𝐼𝐵𝐿. "If he's innocent, I will leave him alone," Tunde told himself. "But if he's hiding something, I'll find out." Hiding behind a tree, Tunde waited and watched. At first, 𝐼𝐵𝐿 sat as usual, humming and chewing on a stick. But then, as the moon rose, something changed. 𝐼𝐵𝐿 stood up. He stopped laughing. He reached into his sack and pulled out something long and sharp. A knife. Tunde's heart pounded. 𝐼𝐵𝐿 moved like a leopard, silent and fast, heading towards the village outskirts. Tunde followed, his breath held tight in his chest. They reached the forest. 𝐼𝐵𝐿 bent down and dragged his sack into a hidden path. Tunde felt fear creeping into his bones. He wanted to turn back, to run, but something told him that this was the moment. This was the truth the village needed. Tunde crouched behind a tree and watched as 𝐼𝐵𝐿 opened his sack under the dim light of the moon. Tunde covered his mouth to stop himself from screaming. Inside the sack, he saw human heads, little Damola, 𝐮𝐻𝐵𝐿, and others, faces frozen in fear. Tunde's stomach twisted. He had never seen something so evil. His hands trembled, his legs felt weak. Suddenly, 𝐼𝐵𝐿 turned. His eyes glowed in the dark. Tunde ran. He crashed through the bushes, branches scratching his skin. His heart pounded like a drum. He could hear footsteps behind him. 𝐼𝐵𝐿 was chasing him. Tunde ran faster. He had to warn the village. He had to tell them the truth. Tunde burst into the village, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Wake up! Wake up!" People rushed out of their huts, their faces confused and frightened. 𝐼𝐵𝐿 is not mad, Tunde screamed. He is a murderer. Baba Dimeji and 𝐬𝐵𝐻𝐵𝐿 stepped forward. "What are you saying, Tunde?" "I saw it with my own eyes," Tunde panted. "His sack, it's full of human heads. Damola, 𝐮𝐻𝐵𝐿, they are inside." The crowd froze. Then all at once, panic erupted. Cries of horror, shouts of rage. Mothers clutched their children. Men grabbed their machetes and torches. We must stop him, Baba Dimeji roared, before he takes another life. The villagers, angry and afraid, marched toward the Iroko tree. Abiodun was already back at the tree, sitting as if nothing had happened. The villagers surrounded him. "What's in your sack?" Baba Dimeji demanded. Abiodun looked up and smiled. "Spirits," he whispered. "You cannot touch their home." But this time, the villagers were not afraid. Two strong men grabbed the sack and tore it open. The truth spilled out. The village erupted in screams. "You devil!" 𝐬𝐮𝐫𝐞 shouted. Men grabbed Abiodun, tying his hands with thick ropes. Abiodun only laughed. "Kill me if you must," he said, "but I'm not the only monster here." "What do you mean?" Baba Dimeji asked, his voice trembling. Abiodun's eyes glowed with something dark. "You blame me?" he sneered. "But who do you think paid for these heads?" The villagers stopped breathing. "The ritualists," Abiodun whispered. "They live deep in the forest. They gave me money, food, gold. And you all let them. You trade with them. You pretend they do not exist. But without them, I would be nothing." His words sank deep. The villagers' greed had created this nightmare. Abiodun smirked. "So tell me, who is truly guilty?" The news reached Oba Adewale, the king of Akintan. His face was carved with grief and anger. "You have brought death to my land," he said, his voice thundering in the palace. "For this you must die." Before the execution, Oba Adewale turned to the villagers. "Do you see now?" he asked. "Our greed, our silence, it has allowed evil to grow." Heads hung in shame. "Tomorrow," the king declared, "we end this darkness. We will burn down the ritualist shrine." That night, Abiodun's laughter died with him, but the real battle had just begun. The night after Abiodun's execution, the village of Akintan was silent, yet heavy with unspoken fear. The truth had been revealed. The ritualists who lived deep in the forest were the true source of evil. They had been buying human heads from Abiodun for years, and no one had dared to stop them. Now the villagers had a choice: fight or live in fear. Oba Adewale the king stood before his people. His heart was filled with anger and sorrow, and his mind made up. "We must destroy the ritualists," he declared. "We will not sleep while our children disappear. We will not live in fear while evil hides in our land." The villagers cheered in agreement, but fear still lingered in their hearts. 𝐬𝐵𝐵𝐶, the oldest woman in the village, stepped forward. "We cannot go without a plan, my king," she said. "These ritualists have magic. They are dangerous." "Then we will prepare, Baba Dimeji," the village elder said. "We will gather our warriors, sharpen our weapons, and arm ourselves with courage." Throughout the night, the villagers prepared for battle. The hunters sharpened their machetes. The farmers gathered firewood to burn the shrine. The women prepared charms and spiritual protection. By morning, Akintan was ready. They would fight. The sun had barely risen when the warriors of Akintan gathered at the edge of the forest. Their leader was Tunde, the young hunter who had discovered Abiodun's secret. His hands gripped a long spear, his heart steady. Beside him stood Baba Dimeji, the village elder, and Akin, the strongest farmer in the land. 𝐬𝐵𝐵𝐶 had prepared a sacred charm for protection. "Tie this around your necks," she told them. "It will shield you from the ritualist dark magic." One by one, they tied the charms and stepped into the forest of shadows. The deeper they went, the darker the forest became. The trees whispered, and the wind carried strange voices. Some men shivered, but they pressed on. Then suddenly, "Halt!" Tunde raised his hand. The warriors froze. In the distance, through the mist, they saw it, the ritualist shrine, a small, airy hut, surrounded by the skulls on wooden sticks. The air smelled of blood and burnt herbs. The dark figure moved outside, chanting strange words. Tunde tightened his grip on his spear. "We attack at my signal." The battle for Akintan was about to begin. The warriors of Akintan moved swiftly. Silent, focused, Tunde gave the signal. With loud war cries, they rushed the shrine. The ritualists dressed in red robes hissed and screamed, their evil powers stirring the air. They threw strange powders, trying to blind the warriors, but the villagers were ready. Akin swung his machete, cutting down the first ritualist. Tunde threw his spear, hitting another in the chest. The battle was fierce. The ritualists fought back using dark magic, but 𝐬𝐮𝐫𝐞's charms protected the warriors. Then, a deep voice boomed from inside the shrine. "You dare disturb us? You will all die." A giant figure stepped out, a tall, scared man, the leader of the ritualists. He raised his staff and the air shook. Lightning flashed. Dark shadows rose. For a moment, the warriors felt fear creep into their bones. But Baba Dimeji raised his voice. "We fight for our people. We fight for our children." The warriors roared in unison, and the real battle began. The fight raged on. The ritualists screamed as the warriors pushed forward. Tunde and Akin reached the shrine doors. Inside, they saw a pile of human skulls, the remains of innocent people taken over the years. Rage filled their hearts. "This evil ends today," Tunde shouted. With one swing of his machete, he cut down the ritualist leader. Baba Dimeji shouted to the villagers outside, "Set the shrine on fire." The farmers threw torches on the roof of the shrine. Flames rose high, swallowing the evil. The ritualists howled as the fire consumed their dark magic. The people of Akintan had won, but at a terrible cost. The shrine was gone, reduced to ashes, but the battle had taken lives. Some warriors had fallen. Tunde stood, his body aching, his hands shaking. Akin had a deep cut on his arm. "We did it," Baba Dimeji whispered, "but at what price?" The village had won, but they had lost brothers, sons, and fathers. That night, Akintan mourned. Yet, in the sorrow, there was also hope. The darkness had been defeated. The next morning, the villagers gathered to bury the fallen warriors. Tears flowed, but so did gratitude. "We must never forget their sacrifice," Oba Adewale said. "They died so we could live." The 𝐟𝐸𝐾 tree, once home to the Madman, now became a place of remembrance. A lesson was learned. Never again would the people of Akintan turn a blind eye to evil. The village elders gathered to discuss the future. "What do we do now?" Baba Dimeji asked. "We build," the king said. "We grow stronger." And so the people of Akintan rebuilt their homes, their lives, and their trust. The fear that once ruled them was gone. Months passed and the village healed. Children played outside again. The market was full of laughter and trade. The memory of Abiodun and the ritualists became a story told around fires, a warning for future generations. The people had learned to be watchful, to never trust blindly, to fight for their own. The 𝐟𝐸𝐾 tree, once feared, now had a new meaning. It was a symbol of strength and survival. The king declared, "Akintan will never be a place where evil hides." The villagers cheered. A new era had begun. Years later, the children of Akintan still heard the story of Abiodun and his sack, a story of evil, greed, and the price of ignorance, but also a story of bravery, unity, and triumph. Akintan remained a village of warriors, and the lesson: evil can only live where good men stay silent.
Enjoyed the tale? If so, please like the video, comment, share it with your family and friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.